Well, it's good to have you here. And now can't let you get away without first finding out, okay, you went to CES, and guys like you and me, we've been to these all the time, with gobs of people in technology. CES is one of the best. It's got
Yes.
so many new things out there. And if I had to pin you down to just like three or four, maybe five things that just kind of really dazzled you there, what would they be that you saw at CES this year in 2016?
Well, Terry, there are basically six key territories that were very interesting for me. I saw, everything from, you look at virtual reality and you look at the consumerization of that, with the release of Oculus Rift coming up. And there were a number of actual providers, everything from full body sensors to create kind of immersion within the experiences, or like depth within it, as well as new service providers. So you look at enterprise ready solutions. So you look at Lowe's and their Hollow Room and their partnership with Marks and Labs. You look at the ability to basically take and align and leverage virtual reality on behalf of driving even commerce with contextual hotspots. That was very impressive to me. Another area was, I was very impressed with the amount of 3D, just everything. So that was very surprising. It's kind of the progression of 3D printing, 3D scanning, different use cases that are applicable to various verticals and industries. That was incredibly impressive as well, especially looking at the combination of virtual reality with 3D printing from a medical perspective. That was very interesting. Another one was actually going beyond screens, so new forms of computing. So there was one in particular called BrainCo, and it was a neural input device where you could actually control whether it's IoT sensors or medical prosthetics with your mind. So that was incredibly impressive. In addition,
Wow, that sounds like something right out of science fiction with
it
the
does.
IoT, of course, Internet of Things, and being
Correct.
able to do it. That is amazing.
Yeah, it was very, very impressive. In addition to actual holograms that are actually there just in 3 dimensions, that was incredibly impressive, potentially high impact for marketers as well. And then you start looking at accessories that really empower consumers. CES is all about the latest and greatest technology, but one thing that's kind of underpinned the last few years is actually the ability for the reason that there's been so much progression from a digital marketing standpoint is that you look at, way back in 2007 with the launch of the original iPhone, that was transformational. Why? Because it enabled consumers. It consolidated all these various devices. So what we saw at CES are this kind of progression towards now immersive experiences. We touched on VR, but now there are accessories that will allow consumers to have, whether it's a 3D photographs from their phone through like a technology called Bevel. Or even moving further, there's a new camera that'll allow consumers to create virtual reality experiences directly from a new camera device. So accessories that empower were a big, big player there as well. And that's going to help kind of shepherd in the adoption of VR. Because the key thing about VR, it's got to be portable, but it also has to be able to where consumers can easily create content for it to make it relevant for them. It's not enough for it to be just this kind of passive experience.
Mm. I
And
like that. I think that's really important. That ties in with what we're seeing with much of marketing today. It's not just you blasting your message out, and that's the term I use, blasting a message out. People want to interact with it. So you're seeing that also with 3D and virtual reality.
absolutely, absolutely. That's going to be a very, very key area because people have to essentially see themselves in it. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit later when we start talking about some of the shifts and changes in marketing, and especially around content marketing that we're seeing. But to wrap
Yeah.
up the CES portion, two other areas were the smart home. So there's this arms race happening right now to be the hub of the connected home. Because to me, that's where it's very important whenever you begin to see the amount of data that's going to be created, all of the systems that are interconnected with one another. And from a marketing perspective, how can you inject yourself and your messaging into that new ecosystem that's going to be automated in a lot of ways and removing the consumer from some of the decision process. So that's another interesting one. Lowe's had their Iris system on display. LG had their Smart Think technology, which was similar to Amazon Echo. And the final area that was really impressive to me was the progression in intelligent robotics. So
Mm.
another area that I see a lot of application for marketing moving forward is going to be through this combination of both what's called emotive robotics and artificial intelligence. And those are kind of two key areas that are going to advance. I ultimately think that the connected home is going to be run by some form of artificial intelligence. You look at like the Jibo robot that's being developed right now, that has that emotive nature to where it can recognize you, respond and react to you. So I think those are things that are coming in the near future that are going to be very interesting, have very interesting marketing applications from either a content delivery standpoint or Yeah, just another way in which to garner data from consumers. But those were the 6 areas that were the most interesting.